This is a fairly common sight at industrial training institutes or ITIs across India. And so is this. Is there an active selection that takes place, or do boys and girls just naturally fall into ready slots? Today the manufacturing sector in India, languishing as it is, still faces a shortage of skilled labour that runs into millions. Is this imposed self-selection that's taking place at the most basic level of education the root cause of some of our problems? The picture of women's higher education in India is quite startling. Now, since independence, the enrollment of women in colleges has increased from about 10% in 1947 to about 41% in 2010. But this number is still 20% lower than enrollment rates for men. Moreover, the report by the Department of Science and Technology highlights that women in India are being overrepresented in the humanities and medicine fields and significantly underrepresented in things like hardcore engineering jobs. Now, the only thing that one can probably be happy about is that India has a better male-to-female ratio for engineers than the US. But this is not the time for table thumping, because the situation is actually quite grim. Of India's women engineers, only about 3.5% find jobs in mainstream engineering businesses. Why is this happening? That's on the show this week. We travel to Jamshedpur, where these women are part of Tata Motors' bold experiment with diversity.
As technology has improved over the years, we've seen that the number of women actually getting involved on shop floor operations has actually increased.
From Jamshedpur, we head to Manesar, where Alka Kaul is holding her own in a factory full of men.
Don't expect any preferential treatment. You will get preferential treatment, but just don't expect it as a right.
And then we travel south to the ABB and Bosch plants, where women are slowly but surely taking over the shop floor.
We looked at it and said, well, is there any particular reason why they need to be all male? And frankly speaking, there was no reason at all why they had to be male.
Whether it's one of India's largest automobile companies with its oldest plant in Jamshedpur manufacturing everything from the world's chief unit in the industrial model township near Manesar, which manufactures auto ancillaries. The problems they face when it comes to hiring women are common.
The talent supply chain is a problem.
There are not many females who take up engineering as a mechanical field.
Once they get married, we find a typical pattern that either, husbands or in-laws either pull them out of employment altogether or possibly encourage them to leave manufacturing-centered jobs.
Tata Motors today has only about 5% women in manufacturing-related roles across all its plants in India. While supply issues have always been a concern, until a few years ago, management mindset as well as the nature of work on the shop floor acted as impediments to hire women.
Technology has enabled that, from sheer very labor-intensive operations, the world is moving to a more technology-enabled operations, and therefore it makes it easier for women, to overcome, any physiological aspects that may have come in the past. I think the number of people that organizations are wanting to hire who are women has been a conscious choice. It's not meant diluting standards, but just sensitizing recruitment teams when they fan out to look for talent, to make sure that any prejudiced view or a bias is kind of eliminated. So socializing recruitment teams has been, I think, one very clear effort that I've seen organizations take.
And this batch of 30 women is one of Tata Motors' first bold experiments with actively envisioning a job for women on the shop floor. The job involves putting the finishing touches on one of Tata Motors' biggest commercial vehicles, the Prima World Truck. While this may sound like an easy enough task, it's one that's quite technical in nature. It involves meticulously checking every part of this massive automobile. It requires an eye for detail, dexterity and a dogged persuasion for perfection.
The idea started by acknowledging that women actually are better than men in the job that they are expected to do. And that itself is a huge mindset shift in Pantnagar, where we manufacture the smaller commercial vehicles. You know, the entire gear box assembly of the manufacturing of gearboxes is fundamentally done by women for almost the same reasons. But having said that, you know, I must remind ourselves the challenge remains. All of this is still not enough for women to want to join a manufacturing sector. Once they join the sector, once they join the company, then they realize that, you know, life is not as difficult.
And some old hands at the Jamshedpur plant know this from experience.
There was always a lot of encouragement in the family for achievement, and since I found I had a natural inclination towards these subjects, it seemed the right thing to do.
Mitra joined Tata Motors as a young girl out of engineering college, and after spending the better part of her career on the shop floor, she's now moved on to a planning and strategy function at the plant.
They have been extremely open in allowing me to learn about each of these roles, train me in each of these roles, and also encourage me as the days went by. You know, provide the skills, provide the facilities. There have been a lot of inputs which have come in from the management also to make life easier for us in terms of the flexi hours which have come in for women, in terms of the extended maternity leave that we've got. You know, these are all signals of management, top management accepting us in such roles, and then, you know, providing the necessary facilities so that we can actually continue.
Tata Motors today is also actively working with state governments to bring education at ITIs up to industry standards by revamping syllabi, installing state-of-the-art equipment and creating a talent pool that is an asset to any organization. Now, a company like Tata Motors can well afford to make these investments on manpower. But this is a far cry from what the SME sector can afford. We caught up with Alka Kaul of Horizon Industrial Products, a small and medium enterprise, to understand the challenges SME faces when trying to diversify its workforce.
We are, I think, 150. Out of them, I think we are only like 4 females. That also in the management area, not in the working operator level area.
A doctor by training, Alka Kaul's taken 10 years to work her way up in the family's auto ancillary business, which supplies parts to Maruti, Honda and Yamaha. Kaul says she's earned her stripes and the respect of her employees, majority male, by working side by side with them on the shop floor and in R&D labs. Over the years, Kaul has tried integrating women into the workforce, but finds that recruiting, training and retaining women employees is an expensive proposition.
There's a lot of investment in the sense we also send them out for training, be it CII or ECMA or our customers. So yes, that's a monetary cost also. Then there's also an emotional cost attached, because workers start listening to them, people start listening to them. So once they leave, another person comes, then it creates also a gap, and that kind of does not create a very fruitful environment for the females to work in, because now whoever will come next will be seen by the, gauged by the same scale.
Kaul admits that past experiences have created a catch-22 situation for her. While she would like to hire more women because they do add balance to the team, she has a board to answer to.
I would like to send a message out to girls that please, be more strong and don't expect any preferential treatment. You will get preferential treatment, but just don't expect it as a right. And have faith, because I think we girls feel that, this is not our field. We should not be standing on the shop floor and working. We cannot do hard labor. Of course we can do hard labor. Females have all the time worked in agriculture sector in the fields. And parents need to be more supportive. As a society, we need to be very supportive.
Families need to be supportive of women's careers. We cannot emphasize that enough. Also, as a society, we need to attach dignity to all kinds of work. There has to be dignity of labor in this country. We need to not stereotype work as well as the abilities of women workers. And this is something that we will delve into after the break when we take a look at women who were once high school dropouts, today are earning their living and respect of their families by working at Bosch.
எங்க வீட்ல வந்து அண்ணாலாம் வந்து நீங்க வேலைக்கு போக வேணாம் நாங்க இருக்கும்போது நீங்க எதுக்கு வேலைக்கு போகணும்னு சொல்லிட்டு அனுப்ப மாட்டேன்னு சொல்லிட்டாங்க. There is a large percentage whose decisions almost get overruled because some path is already being set, so whether it's a marriage or having a baby, and there's a fair bit of overruling. For a lot of women it's still a challenge how to negotiate their socio-economic setups.
Shripati, a proprietor of a chain of sugar factories in Tamil Nadu who works closely with rural communities, believes that barriers break down when benefits are tangible.
I like to employ women as much as possible because I think a woman whose family has spent on her education, especially at a master's level in engineering or in IT and so on, they need to see that female is bringing back some revenue to the kitty.
என்னோட salary மூலமா என் சிஸ்டருக்கு மேரேஜ் அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணியிருக்கோம். என் தம்பி வந்து வேலை ட்ரை பண்ணிருக்கான். ஸோ வீட்டில் சிஸ்டம் ஒன்று வாங்கி அவனுக்காக ஏதாவது பண்ணணுன்றதுக்காக அதுக்காக ப்ளஸ் வீட்டு செலவுக்காகலாம் அம்மாவுக்கு கொடுக்குறேன். அது ரொம்ப ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல்லாக இருக்குது.
Banji Kauri's family today is more respectful towards her career. She's being encouraged to study further and easy loans from Bosch have made this possible. Similarly, in Valarmathi's case, being sent to Shanghai for training was a turning point. Not only was it a confidence booster for Valarmathi, but also a matter of prestige for her family.
Yeah, I would first talk about buying in their families. If at all ladies can come here and work on the shop floors, you should also, their family, the society around them should accept that. And this we try to do by having a family day. The family day is an affair which is done every year. So we invite their families and show them where their children, where their daughters, where their sisters are working. The society at large here knows Bosch, knows how we work, so they also have a confidence in this setup. We have ladies in our security, we have a lady doctor here, we have lady officers, we have lady supervisors. And when a fresh fresh lady comes to work on the shop floor, she sees the shop floor filled up with ladies. That gives her straight away confidence that there are other girls, other workers here who are ladies, and so I also can work.
And this plant, a couple of hours from Chennai, is one of Bosch's 6 units in India. Of the 120 associates working on the shop floor, 100 are women. Initially their work was restricted to the small parts assembly line, but now their role has expanded, and this is a strategic decision.
We find women employees are more productive, and in terms of discipline, they will more adhere to the rules and regulations, and they will comply as per the standing orders of the organization, and the quality of the work will also be good, and you can see more flexible workforce in women. So this gives us the confidence that we can continue this concept for it.
And while the number of women managers at Bosch's plants in India might be low, globally the numbers are higher because the management recognizes that women in these roles bring value.
Well, we're employing many women on the operator side, but if I look at plant management on the senior manager level, we have dozens of women who are managing, let's say, larger parts of a plant. Because it has not only to do with the technology, it has a lot to do with managing people, managing a larger group of people, and women are at least as good at this as men, I would presume.
Women are at least as good at managing people as men. There is a thin line between reality and stereotypes. Very often one can cross from one side to the other without even realizing it.
A rather low share of women coming as graduates, and of these women going to a car supplier are probably even less, because the product is very, very engineering, and so it has not much to do with let's say making a car or designing the interior of a car, or something which would probably be more close to to a typical female engineer.
But isn't that a stereotype?
It is terrible, but we haven't seen so many applicants anyway.
Time for a break on what women really want, but on the other side we look at how ABB is trying to circumvent subconscious biases by redefining the recruitment process. Welcome back. You're watching What Women Really Want. So we've made the point so far about deficiencies in our education system and societal compulsions that tend to hold women back from pursuing careers in manufacturing. But the other piece of the story is that for women who do want careers in engineering, landing that first job is a major hurdle. Various studies and anecdotal evidence suggest that a large number of female engineering graduates often don't even get interview calls during campus recruitment. So here's what the employment picture looks like. Consultancy, 22.2%. Teaching, 20.7%. R&D, 10%. Government services, 7.7%. Industry, 3.5%. Also, female enrollment in the small-scale sector has risen over the years. Women have reported accepting employment in small-scale industry because they have what they say is no other option. So that's the situation. 1990, 9.1%, 2005, 28.8%. But the tide does seem to be turning. Slowly, options are opening up as multinational corporations realize the business case for diversity. Here's the story of a turnaround at ABB.
Many of our assembly lines traditionally have been all male assembly lines.
Male colleagues prefer to recruit a male colleague because they somehow have the perception that female employees are not serious about their career.
We looked at it and said, well, is there any particular reason why they need to be all male? And frankly speaking, there was no reason at all why they had to be male.
Companies like ABB or people who are in our kind of sector can do a much more can do much more to actually make it a much more attractive working place.
And ABB has taken a very structured approach to become a workplace that's more attractive to women. Factory and office locations have daycare centers, flexible work hours, extended parental leaves. But the more concerted effort has come in ensuring that there is a conscious move to include women in the workforce. ABB's trainee replacement program is about creating a more realistic employee mix at the very first level of recruitment.
We started a program to really change the mix, make it more natural mix. And very happy to tell you that we started with saying initially let's go as to 1:4. And within the first few months, we were at 1:2. The real thing is that why it took anyone that long to do it is really the question.
And once the women have been recruited, the next step is ensuring that there's an equitable job rotation that takes place. For instance, at any given point of time, every ABB factory must have at least 5 women supervisors on the shop floor. And the third step is ensuring that the interview pipeline is inclusive.
Every position which needs to be filled, we try to ensure that at least one women candidate is interviewed for that position. Of late, in the last couple of years, the ABB group itself has embarked on ensuring more gender diversity at senior positions. We have had many instances of women occupying senior roles.
I had some medical problems when I conceived, and I was taking off for almost 6 to 8 months. And then when I joined back, I did not really have a setback in my career. I could start off from where I left. I was given opportunities to pursue not just one place, but I could shift through different businesses and come to where I am today.
Today, Rekha manages ABB Power Systems business in India, and she's not the only woman who's worked her way up the ladder successfully. Manisha Shukla and Padmasree Krishnamurthy are 2 other examples from ABB India. While Rekha admits that dealing with extensive travel and working on off-site locations can be a problem if one's family is not supportive, she feels the real problem today is that young men and women just don't see careers in the manufacturing sector as challenging or glamorous enough.
My advice would be to young female engineers is they must give it a chance to join industry and use whatever they have learned in their college. And there are enough opportunities, and it is not a very difficult field to pursue if you really make up your mind. It has to be on the individual's personal choice. They don't see it as glamorous. I think that's more the issue.
Well, this sort of brings the entire argument full circle. Stereotypes and entrenched societal norms regarding what women can and cannot do hold them back from taking up education in mainstream engineering. Also, over time, women who do manage to work the shop floor find themselves boxed in. Renuka Ramnath, who made it to the top of the world of finance, says it like it is.
I'm also an engineer by qualification, and I felt that the most transformational thing that I can do is by joining an engineering company on the shop floor. So that was my excitement. But very soon I realized that I missed the breadth of activity that you see in a financial services firm. So I kind of changed my job in 2 years' time and then joined ICICI.
In all fairness, that was 25 years ago, but changes have been slow to come about. Maybe this decade will prove to be the turning point. Next week on What Women Really Want, we take a look at why the banking and financial services space has emerged as the hotspot for career women in India. Till then, from all of us here on the team, goodbye and many thanks for watching.